Well, I want to take you for the next 13 minutes on a journey. I want to show you how not only the Pacific Ouzel, but everything about the climate, the planet, the atmosphere, the specific gravity, the ratios of the gases, everything on this planet has the signature of God on it, that He wants us to be here. Let me show you what I mean. Starting in Isaiah, and we're gonna cover a lot of stuff. Isaiah 40, and get your Bibles ready because we're gonna cover about 20 verses. Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 22. I already quoted to you as you're turning there that God made all of the universe for His glory. Psalm 19:1 says that the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows His handiwork. But Isaiah 40 and verse 22 says this, that God stretched out and unrolled the universe for His glory. This is what it says. It is He, Isaiah 40 and verse 22, who sits above the circle of the earth. By the way, Isaiah wrote this 7th century B.C., said the earth was a circle. You know what a circle is? It means it's round, right? We're not flat earthers. We believe it's round. Always have since God made it. But He sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers. Look at this. God stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them out like a tent to dwell in. You remember when we started this series, I told you about when we go camping, I kick the tent and it unrolls. That's what God did. He just kicked the universe and it unrolled out to wherever the furthest limit of it is. Why? We'll turn back to Psalm 95. And you probably know this territory well. Back to the left. Psalm 95 says that the creatures might worship Him. God created the heavens screaming His glory. God unrolled the universe and sits above the circle. All of us are like grasshoppers down here. And what He wants to come up from the grasshoppers is worship to Him. I mean, if some people, they just say, I don't have anything to do. I'm so bored with life, and it's just, I just got to have some excitement. Well, why don't you just tune your dish upward and just spend some time every day worshiping God? I mean, that's what He made you for. Psalm 95. Look at verses 3 through 7. Psalm 95:3. For the Lord is the great God, and the great King above all gods. In His hands are the deep places of the earth, which, by the way, science cannot even remotely get close to. They have no idea. I mean, hear all the speculation over the earthquake in Los Angeles. Was it an aftershock of the land earthquake, or was it a new series? And is the Bay Area? I mean, just all the speculation. They don't know what's going on under the surface of this planet. No one knows anything about anything deeper than 9 miles. The earth is 8,000 miles thick. We know about 9 miles. That's like the thin skin on an onion. We know nothing about this earth. But look what it says. Verse 4, in His hand are the deep places of the earth. The heights of the hills are His also. The sea is His, for He made it, and His hands formed the dry land. Verse 6, O come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker. For He is our God, and we are the people of His pasture and the sheep of His hand. Today, if you'll hear His voice, harden not your heart, as the writer of Hebrews said. What does God want? He wants us to worship Him. Look at the next Psalm, Psalm 96, just on my page, right across the column. Verse 4, for the Lord is great and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods. For all the gods of the people are idols, but the Lord made the heavens. See, this is a big thing to God. I mean, if the sea wolf makers get to etch their signature, actually their number, their General Dynamics, Groton Seaworks number on their parts that they make, they don't really get to put their name, they just put their badge number. But God said, this is a big deal for me. I have signed my name on you. I made you. I made the heavens. Look at Psalm 113 to the right. Just keep going. Psalm 113, verse 4. The Lord is high above all nations, verse 4 says. His glory is above the heavens. I mean, we think the heavens are astounding. And the new X-ray telescope is showing so much more about the beauty, the symmetry, the order. It's profound. But God says, my glory is above the heavens. I'm so much better and glorious and powerful than the heavens. Those are just an expression of a creative moment. And God says, I'm infinite and endless. And I just spoke that into being. That's just the word of my power. I'm greater than that. Verse 5, who is like the Lord our God, who dwells on high, who humbles himself to behold the things that are in heaven and the earth? Did you know it's a humbling thing for God to even pay attention to us, but He loves us so much He does. Well, now in your minds, change gear. What are the chances for finding a planet like the one you're sitting on that supports life? Well, astrophysicists, scientists, mathematicians have all gotten together, and they have started to run the numbers on how, in the evolutionary framework, how it's possible that it just happened here. Okay? Now listen, this is their findings. There are 23 parameters that cannot be exceeded without disturbing any planet in the universe's capacity to support life. There are a minimum of 23 elements that must be present for life. Us, to live, to begin, and to continue to live. Okay? Not to mention there are about a dozen other parameters such as atmospheric transparency, pressure and temperature gradient, and greenhouse gases and location of gases, and minerals and mantle and core constituents and structure that are currently being researched for their sensitivity for supporting life. Do you see? I mean, they said there's 23 prime ones and there are a dozen others. They're not even sure. Probably even the core of our planet influences the viability of this planet. But with considerable security, we can draw the conclusion that much fewer than a trillionth of a percent of all stars out in the universe could possibly possess, without divine intervention, a planet capable of sustaining advanced life. Now that's an evolutionary mindset thinking. A trillionth of a percent. Considering the observable universe contains less than 1 trillion galaxies, and each has only 100 billion stars, we can see that not even one planet out there anywhere could be expected mathematically by natural processes alone to possess the necessary conditions to sustain life. So mathematically, I always think about what William Proxmire said. Remember the great, I think it's from Washington State, kind of had some great things he said along the years. He said, we've spent over $100 million of American taxpayers' money searching for intelligent life forms in the universe. He said, I think the money would be better spent looking for some intelligent life forms in Washington, which is true. I mean, why don't they get down to business and try and solve our problems instead of waiting for some Galactica ET message to solve our problems? We've already got it. And by the way, I have a copy right here if any of you'd like to see it. This is the true message from God. But these factors seem to indicate that the galaxy, the sun, the earth, and the moon, in addition to the universe, have undergone divine design. And if divine design is essential to explain the properties of simpler systems such as the universe, our galaxy, and the solar system, how much more necessary is God's involvement explaining systems as complex as microorganisms and animals and plants and the highest of all God's created order, human beings. Astounding. Well, you're in Psalm 113. Turn over to Psalm 147. Let me show you the first one of these anthropic, by the way, the terminology for this is anthropic principles. That means that everything mathematically and scientifically points to the fact that this place we live was designed just for us to live in. It didn't happen. It didn't, slowly get that way. It suddenly became this way, or else we wouldn't exist.